Hello, everyone, and welcome to Camping with Lenny. In this episode, packing your car in order. This episode is brought to you by me, Camping with Lenny. Help me create great content by supporting this podcast by buying me a cup of coffee at buymeacoffee.com/campinglenny. Thanks for your support. Packing your car in order is very, very important, especially if you're planning to go car camping. And if you know what I mean, car camping and like parking your car in your campsite and unload and just start setting it up and just having fun and packing up again and heading out. You don't have to worry about hiking. You don't worry about parking a car and going away. So this is my tips on packing your car before you go camping, because it is very, very important to make sure that everything is in order. So when you get to site, you don't have to worry about searching for things. Okay, so just a little disclaimer here. My car is it's an SUV. It's a Lexus NX 300. Yes, it is not a full-fledged SUV, but it's one of those yuppie hippie SUVs. So with that said, let's start with what I actually do before I start packing the car is I actually fold the back seat itself, remove all the privacy covers. In other words, I have to remove everything in the back seats and the trunk so I can start loading the car up. So my goal is when I go to site is to set up the shelter first, then set up the kitchen, then anything else miscellaneous that includes whatever is going inside the tent. That is my order of things when I go on site, when I go to the camping site. So my car and how I pack it must reflect that in order to make it easier for me. My goal is all the time is when I get to the campsite, I give myself about an hour to set up everything. And by the time 60 minutes is over, I have a beer in my hand. That's the goal. That's always my goal since day one on going camping. So to make that reality is I pack my car in a certain way. For me, packing it in a certain way just speeds up the process. So here it is. Because the tent that I use is the Gazelle T4, it's a long case. It's a long tent. Like when you pack it, it's pretty long. That's the first thing that goes into my car because it's very long. That's why the seat is back. I have to put that in there. It's good to go. After that, whatever I need to support the idea of having the shelter up and the kitchen up, right? So I'll have my my Gazelle on the side of the car, right? So as I can just grab it and set it up. After that, after I finish putting down the car, the first thing I do is actually put my cooler closer to the edge of the trunk side itself, so it's easy access to the beverages and all that stuff. I'll tell you a reason why I have it there instead of like far back in the middle of the car or down the trunk itself. After I put my tent in, I actually start putting in the stuff that I need that's bulky and long. That includes sleeping bag. If I bring my big cot with me, then that's gonna go right beside my Gazelle itself, my tent. After that, it's just whatever's left over along wise, like the poles from my tarp, tables, like folding tables or anything like that, just goes into the side of the Gazelle, right? So now I have this void at the back of the cooler and the rest of the car itself. So what I do next is very, very important because remember, my goal is to have the shelter and the kitchen stuff up and running. The first thing I'll do is to easy access to the stuff that I need to grab for the kitchen is to actually have my stove, or sorry, my dry bin. My dry bin is very, very important. I have my dry bin right beside the cooler and the tent itself. The dry bin, actually have two dry bins. One dry bin will actually have all my my food stuff. So that includes salt, pepper, barbecue tongs, pots, pans, you name it. Everything is there ready for me to grab, right? So it's nice and neat and tidy. So when it gets wet or anything like that, everything will remain dry. That's why I call it dry bin. My second dry bin actually has all my my miscellaneous stuff. That includes tent pole, tent stakes, That includes my tent stakes, my stove, because I have a small backpacking stove. My what else do I have there? I have hammers. I have everything that's like making everything done. Everything that's to be secured. So in other words, this bin will be secure. It's my secure bin. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's my bin to secure everything inside to make sure that there's a gust of wind, it doesn't fly away type deal. Okay. So I actually have that in front when you open the trunk, everything's there. So I get the stuff that I need to set up the tent, any structure that I need to do, everything's in that bin. So again, I open the tent. I open my car, back door. I grab my tent, set that up, and after that, my kitchen stuff. I have my dry bin, and I have another dry bin with all my stakes and all the hammers and all the anything that needs to support the site. So I have that ready to go. So now, me opening the trunk, having everything access there, I don't have to dig in all the way to the middle of the car. That was the goal. That's the goal, is to make sure everything's accessible, right? So let's just say your tent is set up, your tarp, if you need a tarp set up, your kitchen, it's literally one bin. You put it on the picnic table, set that up, ready to go. The next thing I have access to as soon as I get that out and set up is my living. I call it the living quarters, living things. That includes my sleeping bag, my cot, my air pads, my air mattress. Sorry, my chairs, my table, and portable tables, everything. Because as soon as you take that out, as soon as you take the tent and the kitchen stuff out, leaving the cooler in the car, by the way, you have all that access now, right? So it's easier for me to grab that right after, right? So I can set up inside the tent. I can set up the finalize finishing the kitchen. I can put my chairs up and all that stuff. In the meanwhile, the reason why I have my cooler and easy access when I open the tailgate is if I get thirsty, right? Because if you're camping in the middle of summer, it gets very, very hot. It gets thirsty. You have access to water pretty easily. Also, if you need snackage, your dry bin's right there too. You can grab it pretty easily as well too. What's left in the car is all the miscellaneous stuff. Like, for example, my Jackery is there, my solar panel for my Jackery, my clothes, my camera gear, my podcasting gear. Everything's there in the middle, right? So if you look at this in a reverse way, let's say. That's okay. First of all, that's how I unpack the car. Now let's look at it reversing the process, right? For me, leaving my house to go camping is very strategic. It took me about 2 or 3 campings until I get it done, until I know exactly how to pack it. So when I start packing, the first thing goes in, like I mentioned, is my tent. After that, before I put my cooler in, I actually start putting all the stuff that can be left in the car during the camping, or you don't need it until everything's set up. So that's your clothes. My camera and my podcasting equipment can stay in the middle of the car, right where the back seats are. For me, doing that, this means I have all the equipment that I need to set up first in front, right? So you have, again, depending on how you camp and who are you going to be with, or if you're going solo, it's all about strategically placing your equipment and how you pack your car the way you want to set up your tent when the first time you show up on site, right? If you want to set up your kitchen first, make sure your kitchen gets put in the car last, because that's the first thing goes in. So in other words, whatever goes in last is the first one to leave the car, the first one you take away from the car. With that mindset, it will definitely help you to set up to pack your car in a way that makes sense when you get there, right? Because you don't want to start hunting for, let's say, for example, you're hunting for your sleeping bag, sorry, not your tent, and your tent is like buried. The first thing you packed is your tent, and the tent is so small that you can barely find it, because you have all of your other stuff in front of the car, in front of the it's easy access to, right? And if you don't need, let's say if you need your hammer and the first thing you pack is your hammer to put down the stake, guess what? That's the last thing you'll be doing, and you'll be frustrated because you're ruining your flow of setup, right? So it is very, very important for you to, before you start packing your car, step back for a bit. Ask yourself, what am I setting up first? If my tent's gonna be set up first, this is the last one I'll be packing in the car, right? Or if you say, okay, I'm gonna set up the kitchen first, then my chair, then the tent. So guess what? Your kitchen stuff will be the last one to be packed, because that's the first one you're gonna be grabbing and setting up, then your chair, then your tent, right? So you have to look at the reverse order. So it is very, very important for you to plan ahead regarding how you want to set up your campsite. What's the first one to be set up? Then after you make that list, then go reverse order how you want to pack it, right? Because again, your goal is to maximize your time outdoors and camping. You don't want to spend too much time setting up, because you'd be spending out so many times setting up. You're just gonna drive yourself crazy, right? So that's how you set up going to camping. Now let's talk about packing. Packing your campsite, go back to your car and go home. For me, I do the opposite. I do the reverse order of how I set up my campsite. The first thing I'm gonna need to set up, the first thing will be folded and be packed first is all the bits and bobs. So whatever's inside the tent, that needs to be stored first, because that's the last one I set up, right? So that's gonna be put in the car first. After that, it'll be my chair, then my kitchen, then my tent. Because again, that's the reverse order to how I set it up, right? The reason why I do that is because I know the way I set up. The reason why I do that is the way I actually load the car. Right? I know it fits. If you do the reverse order, loading your car again when you're going home, you're guaranteed that everything you have will fit. Right? So if you end up doing I'm just going to toss everything in the car and go, there's a good chance that you'll be wondering, wait a minute, I have a chair. I have this chair pack coming in here. Now I can't fit it. Right. So that's why it's very, very important for you to be very strategic regarding how you pack your car, how you set up your tent, and how you pack how you set up your campsite, how you dismantle your campsite, and how you pack it again to your car when you get home to go home. So it is very, very important. So take your time, sit down, grab a piece of paper if you're going solo camping, that's even better. It'll be easier for you. If you're going with a partner, then sit down with your partner and say, okay, this is how we're going to be putting this together. So you guys are on the same page regarding putting this in, because you don't want to have a very clean packed car going there. By the time you get home, everything will be like all over the place. It's a disaster. Everything's falling apart. You can't see anything from the back window. It's just a very miserable time getting home. And it is again, it's safety first when you pack your car and go into your campsite. So take time, sit down, just figure out how you want to pack your car and how you're setting it up, and that will maximize your time in the outdoors, maximize your time in camping and spending time with your loved ones and your friends and family. If you're by yourself, it's more time for you to go hiking. That's what I do, and just enjoy. So plan ahead and make sure you're safe. And also one more thing is very, very important. If you're planning to buy some wood for your campfire, make sure you have something to cover your equipment, like a tarp or a piece of bed sheets that you're not going to use anymore, because the wood itself does flake out and will just create a big mess in your tent, and you don't want that to spill all over the place, because you guess what, you'll be cleaning it by the time you get to the campsite, and you'll be cleaning it again after. So make sure you put something on top of your stuff if you're putting the bag of wood on top of all your equipment. Also, make sure that normally if you do pack your own firewood is usually the first thing you'll be taking out, and because it's dirty, it's on top of everything. So if it's cold, you want to start fire first. So always put that last. You always put that in last, and make sure it's on top of everything. Don't put something on top of the firewood, because it's harder for you to grab that wood if you have stuff on top of it. So hopefully this helps. And if you have any tips regarding how to load your car, I definitely want to hear from you guys. If you go to campingwithlenny.com, look for episode 32. There you can leave your comments there. I definitely want to hear from you guys regarding how you guys want to pack your camping gear. So thank you again. I'll talk to you guys next time here at Camping with Lenny. Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing, consider supporting this podcast by buying me a cup of coffee, link in the description. You can also visit campingwithlenny.com. There you can find other episodes and links that can help you on your next camping adventures. Thanks again.